So, well, I guess Tinker is born out of the birth of the Arduino, which I guess a lot of guys know about. And so I guess it sort of started with making people aware of that through workshops and stuff. But now we're moving more and more into doing stuff with this kind of thing, installations, whether it be shop windows or any kind of bits and pieces where we're actually sort of showing something cool that we've come up with. From our point of view with the Arduino, it's about taking sensor readings from the world, or putting things out into the world. Having them digitally at one point, but then they become physical. So it might be reading height, light, or heat, or any number of things, RFID, and then transferring that into something either on the computer or maybe then into something real again.
Okay.
A really good project that Tinker.it did a while back was the Snowflake project, where the sort of random number, or not random number, but the long string number generated by the RFID became a sort of randomly generated snowflake that was a processing sketch. So people would swipe it, it was a window display, people would swipe their RFID and then generate a snowflake, and each individual snowflake would fall specific to each person's RFID card.
Right.
Their Oyster card. That.
Originally with Push you were thinking of doing like a curiosity shop,
Yeah.
and then kind of scale it down. So at Tinker.it you're kind of brainstorming with Nokia and
well, this was a
Hyper.
really good project for us, because Hyper, were really great and very open, and we were able to be very, we were given a lot of creative freedom to come up with the ideas, and I think we had a good dialogue with them. So yeah, from our point of view, I think we were really happy with the way the project's gone out and the way that it was all the way through. It was a good fun project. We were able to come up with ideas.
Yeah, we're looking at these Push 900 hacks, basically, and so this is like a radio hack?
Yeah, so this hack here is a fairly straightforward one actually. Text messages are received by the phone. It then runs a script, searches Last.fm for a similar artist to the search term that was in the text, and then just using the FM transmitter, we transmit through to the old 80s radio, and it plays the song. So we can maybe do a demo later using the speak and spell, which is with those text messages.
Right, okay, so what's the point of that?
So really, with everything, we're just trying to show how flexible the phone is, how you can kind of get in there and do some quite interesting things. So that one, it's just kind of something quite open. People can choose an artist they like and sort of, and hopefully play it over the radio.
Right, and how flexible is the Nokia N900?
Well, it should be. It's very flexible. It's based on a Linux setup. I'm not the expert about the phone. Kevin's the guy who's done that. But yeah, it seems that we've found that we can do the things we want to do, which is great. So and it's running with the language MIMO.
The whole idea of this Push N900 stuff is basically to come up with ideas around how to hack the Nokia and use all the technology in the Nokia to almost create kind of installation art or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. And to try and sort of try and maybe use some of the interesting functionality of the phone. And so here we've got this is the Rolodex now controlling the phone. So we're obviously using most of the time the Arduino, which you can see around here. But the basic interaction is that the Rolodex scrolls and generates you arrive at a name in your address book, and then you stop on it and you can go in and you'd be able to call them. And we're doing that using the Arduino to get a reading from this, just using a potentiometer on the end, and then obviously a script running in the phone to set a range to find in the address book.
I'm going to give that a go.
And then we're talking over Bluetooth to the phone around the side. And we were really keen to try and translate that into things that were just fun to do. It's fun to touch a speak and spell. It's fun to see a Viewmaster again. I guess a couple of the other ideas that we were thinking of, we discussed maybe having an atlas that you could control, and then you could have that wired into Google Maps and see that on the phone. So you could sort of physically manipulate. Sorry, I say an atlas. I mean a globe. Physically manipulate a globe, and then maybe whatever comes up top would then would sort of generate a sort of, and that would maybe talk about the GPS of the phone or some part of that phone, and then see that on Google.
Yeah,
Google Maps,
right.
Which could be really nice, and there's potential to even extend that a bit with maybe tagging photos somehow with a second one, that maybe you tag a photo with a location, and then that might even translate it into a movement of the globe. It could be a two-way conversation, which could have been really nice. I guess we chopped a few ideas because we were sticking to the 80s theme, and we were really keen to have these toys of our childhood. We all remember the great speak and spell, so we've still got all the functionality of that, but we can also send text messages with it now. So I'm quickly going to fire one off here. So I'm just going to say hello in the most, well, let's say hello world for a bit of fun.
I've forgotten that sound.
It's a shame it's not, for the space, it's not as loud as it would ideally be, I suppose. So then enter, we press enter. That's got the message set up, and now we choose the number. So
Okay, I better do that.
yeah, no, go for it. Just give it a minute to settle in, and then press enter. Hopefully, if it's right.
Yeah, try it.
So all being well, it hasn't failed us yet. So hopefully, you should receive a text message. If the number's right. Was it a UK number as well? Yeah. And the text message comes through. Spell and text.
Spell and text. Wicked.
And that's that. So there we've basically got the Arduino running inside, and the phone is actually the screen here. So although we can't see it, taking the reading from the keyboard and then sort of talking to the phone through all that. And again with Bluetooth on the inside is the way of communicating with the phone.
Brilliant. Well, the kind of ideas that people are having are like kind of object linking sort of objects, real world objects with kind of digital functions.
Because I think there's something nice there. It's sort of like a little, I guess, a metaphor for what it does in a way, but it's also like a little story. You think, oh yeah, so 100 years ago to know where I was going, I was using a globe, and now I'm using Google Earth or Google Maps or something like that. And I think there's something quite nice in that, because you say, oh yeah, that's what we used to do, and you can sort of see the little story there.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So
and have you had any ideas yourself?
well, the idea I liked at the start, which I was doing the sketching for, which I guess is where the speak and spell came from, was to get a typewriter to effectively be doing something, whether it's an internet thing or sending messages. But I imagine the sort of clunk of the typewriter, and how nice it would be if you were then getting the sort of the text coming up on the typewriter on the paper, so you had a record, a sort of old-fashioned record of what people were saying, but then also the text message or the blog or whatever that they were also writing to.
Yeah.
That was the idea I was sort of most enthusiastic about, which, like I say, it's kind of similar in a way to the speak and spell.
So like the MIMO Nokia N900 powered office would be a kind of real antiquarian dream.
Be great. Yeah, that would be a place to be, I think. I mean, I think that would be, you'd see a lot of retro things in there for sure, yeah. So here we are with the fourth thing. This is our ViewMaster with the camera inside. So we've replaced the guts of the ViewMaster with the new Nokia phone. And what we can do is take a 3D image. So we flip this switch, and it takes a picture left to right. So I'll be the, I should have been the model. So it's taken a 3D picture for us, which is left to right, one for each eye, which you can see through there, which the camera's going to struggle to get actually, I think. And then in time gets added to the loop here,
right.
You can see as a bigger 3D image. But the core of the thing is to take one for the left eye and one for the right eye, and that way you get that sense of it sort of popping off the background, because you've got stereo vision effectively.
Okay, so here, do you film me putting the glasses on? Right, so here's the acid test.
Yes, and it's probably best to stand back a little bit. It tends to work a bit better from further back.
So that's so the phone. What bit of the phone is that powering? I mean, which bit of the?
So that's effectively using the camera of the phone to take the picture.
Yeah.
And then our little app that we've made, which controls the, which basically generates a picture on either side, for one for each eye.
Yeah.
So that's pulling the image in, and then we're using the Arduino and Bluetooth, well, the Arduino to do all the sort of mechanical side of things, and then the phone is then chucking it over to the computer with Bluetooth on the phone.
Real. Thanks.
I think I was foaming your chin.